everybody, it's Kara of Raevynn Yoga. Today on Discover Your Yoga, we're going to be talking about forward folds. Usually, I show you the basic form of the pose first. But here's the thing, there are so many forward folds in yoga. And a lot of these techniques work for a lot of the forward folds. So I'll show you a couple of the basic forms, but I want you to remember that this idea and these techniques can go to any number of forward folding poses. And I'll certainly work through some of the variations as we go, but I'm not going to be able to hit all of them. Going back to my last video where we talked a little bit about you need to know where your sticking point in a pose is and why the pose maybe is causing you to have a little bit of a challenge or a little bit of a struggle. For anybody who's a bit more abundant through the middle here, like me, a lot of times for forward fold, this tummy here, that's the issue, right there. If a teacher tells you fold forward, nose down to your knees, and you've got this tummy here, there's no way, right? You know that's not happening. But there are also people who their issue is actually through their back body, through the backs of the legs. Okay, so the hamstrings into the glutes. They have issues because maybe they're really tight through there. There's a lot of reasons that forward folds can be challenging. Heck, you can find forward folds challenging because they feel claustrophobic to you. Or maybe, if you're a person that has breasts, maybe when you fold forward, you're dealing with breasts in the face, right? Not so comfortable, not so easy. So there's a lot of reasons, and we're going to talk about ways to deal with some of these. And if you've got a reason that I have not thought about, let me know, because hey, I don't know everything. And it's always good for me to learn. So, we're going to start with pretty much the most ubiquitous forward fold we do in yoga. And that's a forward fold in a sun salutation. So we're going to start with that as sort of our first basic form of the pose. I'm actually going to turn sideways here. So generally how this is cued is that your feet are facing forward. You inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold down. One of the next, now I'm going to stay standing for a moment, is a wide-legged standing forward fold. So in this pose, we're cued to take our feet as wide apart. Hopefully you're cued as feels comfortable. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. So now I'm going to show you one seated forward fold, but there's a lot of them. And as we move into talking about variations for you, we'll address some of those. So this forward fold I'm going to show you is cobbler's pose, Baddha Konasana, and feet are together, knees out to the side. Again, we reach to get a little length in height and fold forward. There's just a few basic forms for some of the many forward folds we do in yoga. We're going to break them down. We're going to break down some more of them and how to create your variations in any forward fold. Keep watching. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the standing forward fold that is generally part of a sun salutation. So sun salutations are cued that your feet should be about hip distance or even 2 fist widths apart. And the cue is generally reach up, inhale, exhale, fold. Now first of all, you can see my hands do not touch the ground with just that basic. So the first thing I want want to suggest is take up a little more space with your feet. You don't want to step this into a full wide leg forward fold. Not for sun salutation. It's going to make it a little more complicated. However, by just taking up a little more space, get those feet a little bit wider apart. If you've got a tummy that you're trying to work with, it creates a little more space for your tummy. So, inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. You can see already by creating that little bit more space, my hands are already closer to the mat. The next step, and this is one that can get emotionally and mentally twitchy for people who have a bigger tummy and who are maybe feeling insecure about that and uncomfortable with it. But let me tell you, it really helps, and it's a movement you can really get good at adding quickly and smoothly. So you do your reach up, inhale. As you fold, bring your hands to your tummy. Lift your tummy a little bit, create a little more of a crease there, and then put your fold in. And as you can see, just that little tuck, my fingers are on the floor. It's a tiny, tiny adjustment. And as you practice it and as you get good at it, it just becomes a natural part of the movement stream for you. And like nobody is going to notice you doing it because it's just a very smooth movement. So I learned both of those, I want to be clear, techniques from an amazing, amazing teacher by the name of Amber Carnes. And she calls it the take space, make space method. So take space, we widen our feet. Make space, we create that little bit of lift that makes a little more space in our body. We're going to readdress take space, make space in future versions of the pose. But I want you to think about take space and make space in any pose that feels a little bit challenging to you. And we're going to keep addressing it as these videos go on. Now we're going to look at variations to help make your wide leg forward fold more accessible. So for those of us who are a bit more abundant through the middle, oftentimes because of the whole make space philosophy, this is automatically a more accessible fold. But it isn't for everybody because this isn't everybody's challenge, right? So the first thing I want you to do is play with your distance here. Obviously, you don't want to go so far that it's like you're killing yourself to do this, okay? But yeah, wide leg forward fold is what your version of wide leg is. So play with your distance. Make a little step class out of it. No, I'm joking. Sorry. In case you can tell, I'm a little goofy. So play with your distance. That's step one. Try it at different widths and see if there's a way that feels better for you. The next step is blocks. Now, if you don't have a set of yoga blocks, first of all, if it's accessible to you to get some, these are, if you're going to ask me what prop you should really have if you can have it, it's blocks. There's tons of styles of blocks. There's tons of materials blocks are made out of. Find a reasonably priced, good set of yoga blocks. My favorite ones here are made of cork, but these are heavy, so they're not necessarily for everybody. But just so you know, I have cork. I'm a fan. So I'm going to set my blocks at their highest height. Remember, blocks have 3 settings. Inhale, reach up high. Exhale, fold. Hands are going to come to blocks. immediately I have more support. Now, you can also play with your block placement. Okay? My blocks were pretty close together. Maybe I want to bring them to my shoulder width. There is so much more support here. I can get a fair range of where I settle into my fold. Now, maybe it's like, that's a little too high. I want to go a little lower. You can come down to here or here. The blocks are there to bring the floor to the height you need the floor at. Our bodies are all different proportions, okay? I am really long through the torso and not super long through the leg. Some people are really long through the leg, not super long through the torso. And some people are like pretty evenly proportioned. None of them is good, none of them is bad, none of them are right, and none of them are wrong. They're just different. And that's why poses look differently on different bodies. And that's why accessibility for poses can be really different in different bodies. So that's another way to vary your forward folding. And here's the thing, that block trick can be used in a forward fold where your legs are hip distance or 2 fist widths apart. It still creates a level of accessibility, bringing the floor to you. Now we're going to talk about seated forward folds. So the first thing we're going to look at is take space, make space. Okay? So for those of us, and we've talked about this, who are abundant through the middle. This is called staff pose, okay? And I'm actually going to show it to you this way. And this way. Staff pose, for me, is really challenging. So first of all, even sitting up as much as I can, you can still see I'm kind of tilted backwards. That's because of the tummy. That's okay. So dealing with this for take space, make space, first of all, take my legs out a little bit wider. I am taking space, okay? Make space, and this does not look cute, and just own it, lift the tummy and sit on up. And suddenly, look at the difference. I made space for my spine to come up higher and more erect, straighter, whatever you want to call it. So that's the first step. Anytime, if your tummy is what's giving you issues. Take space, make space. Another great way to create some space in a seated forward fold is to use block. Told you, best prop option. If you don't have blocks, okay, a sturdy hardback book can work wonders for this. So, block goes on the mat. Sit bones. And I'm being very specific with that language. Sit bones are on the block. You're not sitting back like this. You are up on those sit bones. And you might need to still do your take space, make space. But simply by lifting the hips, you're creating space. This is also a great variation. I'm actually going to lift this. There we go. This is also a great variation for people with tight hamstrings, okay? Is that block under the hips just creates some room. You can also use a bolster, one of those. You can use a meditation cushion. And like I said, a good hardback solid book works great for this particular variation. So now, you've tried your staff pose. You found how far apart your feet need to be for your take space. You've made your space, whether you're using a block, whether you're lifting your tummy a little bit, whether you're doing both. Okay? Now, your teacher cues, reach up and fold forward. And you're like, I'm already as forward as I can get. That's fine. You don't actually have to go any more forward, but you can still add a little bit if you want. So, I'm taking my space. I'm making my space. I don't happen to have a block under me right now, but that's okay. This is going to be the second yoga prop that I would tell everybody. This is a strap. Now, this is a strap that is very long. I love a really long yoga strap. If you don't have a yoga strap or it's not currently accessible to you, that's okay. The belt from a robe. Basically any soft, long piece of fabric. A scarf. Now, if you have like a silky chiffon-y scarf, it might not be sturdy enough, okay? If you're using a winter scarf, it may have a little bit of stretch, but you can still make that work, okay? So don't write that off. Just be aware it might alter things a little bit for you. But yeah, any long fabric, preferably sturdier than silky or chiffon. But other than that, and at the bottom of the video, when you scroll down, I will have links for where I get all of my props. They are not the only places you can get props by any stretch. They just happen to be the ones I have and the ones I like. So whatever you happen to have for a strap. First of all, you've taken your space and you've made your space. And the teacher says, inhale, reach up, fold forward. And you're like, yeah, that's as far as I'm going. That's okay. You don't have to go any further. But if you have a strap, you can wrap it around the ball mounds of your feet. And then just gently pull on your strap. And your fold isn't necessarily going any further. But the strap allows you to actually hold that fold. Okay? Whatever fold you can get, the strap is giving you a way to stay there. It may give you a little bit more forward motion. It might not. That's not the important part. The strap is allowing you to hold into the pose. And that's the handy part about the strap. So now we're going to talk about wide-legged forward folds. So there are a varied number of reasons that these can be challenging for people. And the first thing I want to tell you is that the variations I've already showed you can work in this as well. Block under your bum, specifically under your sit bones. Create some lift, create some space. Take space, make space. Also works. Now, what if you're like, ow, I feel like my knees are almost too low. They're hyperextending. This is a place you can use blocks as well. But you can support your knees with blocks. That can help alleviate that feeling. Now these are really tall blocks. You can get smaller blocks. You can also use cushions, a towel rolled up underneath. There's a few things. I just happen to have the blocks right here. Something under the knee to create support. Takes a lot of that strain and that feeling of hyperextension, even if you aren't actually hyperextending, out of the knee. Now, your teacher has asked you to reach a bit high and fold forward, and you happen to have a hyper flexible yoga teacher who can plant their face on the mat. That's amazing, right? But you can't necessarily do that. Blocks. That's why I told you these are the thing. If you can get anything, these are the thing. Place your blocks out in front of you. And this is about finding the placement for you. Take your fold forward, and maybe you can bring your elbows to your blocks. Now, maybe you're like, it's a little too low. Do that. Oh, hey, that feels good. I don't feel like my body's hanging out and I'm trying to support myself. I can relax into this. How to use your strap with a wide-legged forward fold. You're going to use it very similarly to the staff pose forward fold. Strap wraps around the ball mound of the foot. As you turn your torso and create a little bit of a fold forward, now you can use your strap to support you and keep you in this pose. Works on both sides. I would just feel silly. I know you don't really need to see it on both sides, but I would feel silly not doing it on both sides. Now, the other thing that's handy about a really long strap, and thus, if you can, I totally recommend a long strap. You can do the exact same thing we did in staff pose with both feet in a wide-legged seated forward fold. It doesn't support the way the blocks do, but it can help you hold the pose. So one of the basic forms of the pose I showed you at the beginning was this cobbler's pose. Cobblers is a love or hate pose for a lot of people, okay? But it's taught a lot, so that's why I wanted to show you this. And so there are a few ways you can create some space, some variations. Now for cobblers, actually, and I should move, we're going to use the bolster, I'm going to move it because the first thing I should show you is that in fact, one of the things you need to play with is placement of your feet, okay? Now, having your feet out here is not bad. Having your feet in here is not good. They're both fine. They're both good. They're just what works in your body, okay? So figure out where feet placement works best for you. If your knees are hanging out in space, they're doing this thing. Also, neither bad nor good, just what your body does. Blocks, books, anything you can use that's got some support to tuck underneath your knees, okay? Now, that takes a lot of strain out of this pose for most people. And at that point, it's the exact same options as all the others. Find your take space, find your make space, and then fold as far as you can. One of the great things about cobblers is your knees are here, okay? You can use your legs, you can use your own body to support your fold. But you can also use a bolster, use a rolled up blanket, use a meditation cushion, use a pillow. Create some support for your fold. The other way you can use your bolster here, or your blocks, is going back right to the tuck it under your sit bones. You will be amazed at the different experience of the pose. Even if you find cobblers super easy, Okay? Sitting on the floor, you're fine. You're like, ah, this works. This is awesome. Try it with your hips elevated. It changes the whole experience of the pose. It might make it a little more challenging for you. It does for me. It might make it easier for you. Again, it is not a right or wrong thing. It is an experience it in your body. Now, especially when you're adding a forward fold to this, maybe that hip lift is a good thing. But you know what? Once you've tried it, if it's not a good thing for you, don't do it again. So, there are some variations for working with your forward folds. Going back right to the beginning, the very first video of this series of discovering your yoga. 1, play around with it. Try different things. 2, know where your sticking points are, because you can't work with them if you don't know what they are. 3, add props. Props are there to help your body express a pose. They are not, let's be really clear on this one, they are not cheating. They exist because our bodies are all different. And they are an absolutely integral part of a yoga pose. Maybe not every pose. Maybe some poses you need a prop, some you don't. That's cool. Maybe every pose you like a prop. That's cool. But props, and they do not have to be expensive, high-end props. Robe belt, scarf, hardback books, whatever works for you. Props are your friend. So to review some of the variations for forward folds. Here's a big one. Take space, make space. Take more space on the mat. Step your feet wider. Do whatever your body requires. This is your space, and you do what your body needs in your space. Make space. Lift your tummy. Adjust the boobs. We didn't talk about that one, but you might need to. Maybe you need to adjust the bum a little. That's cool too. Whatever place you need to make some space, make some space. Okay? Find ways to support your body, your props, your own body. Hands to thighs is a great way to support your body. And lift the body. Lift your hips. I'm on a block here. Lift your hips up. Create some space. That's another, actually, you know what? That's a take space. Because you're adding more space. I really hope this has been helpful for you in navigating how your body can express a forward fold. I want to remind you there are no gatekeeper poses in yoga. If there's a pose that doesn't work for you, don't do it. Or if there's a pose that's taught in a certain way a lot, but a different way works for you, do that. Yoga is your experience and your expression of your body. Okay? Do your yoga your way. I really want to thank you for joining me. If you have any comments, questions, if there's some poses you'd like me to break down in this way for you, please reach out. You can comment down there below this video. You can reach me through my website, through Facebook, through Instagram. Both of those are going to have links they're not links, but you'll see them at the end of the video. Please subscribe so when I post new videos each week, you get a notification and you can check it out. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day, whatever day it is you're watching this. And I'll see you next time. Thank you. Be well.